Hi there. This is a message for whoever has come here to listen, whoever's interested in the title of this reading, whatever it is, I don't know yet. My question for this reading is very broad and very broadly for whoever may come here for the collective that comes to this channel. Oh, that's awesome. We're getting a little glow off of these gorgeous cards. I have a new deck. I have two new decks. One, an oracle deck, the Elemental Oracle, Stacy DeMarco, and then just this morning in my mailbox, Guardian of the Night, MJ Cooley. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry, MJ. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous deck. It inspires me to ask Earth, our planet, the woods where I live, the river I'm from, the land I visited this week on the Navajo Nation at a place called Sunrise Mesa. I'm here to ask about our relationship to the earth, and I am writing science fiction. The science fiction is utopian. It begins in this dystopian moment, which feels apocalyptic and dramatic. And I know that some of my trauma comes up when I get into the drama of apocalypse. And I was just walking in the woods this morning and feeling how uncertain I am for the first time in my sober life of that everything is all right. It takes a great deal of effort to align my faith in the big love out there, in my goddess as I understand her, and to really have faith in what I don't know or understand, that what's at work around me. And by the end of the walk, I felt how in some way I have to change what I do in my job, whether I quit that job or I change how I do that job. I'm a historian. I tell stories. I tell stories of our collective trauma, whatever side you identify with in those narratives of the history of, particularly of the Americas and in the Atlantic world. I study the 16th century. I watch my students suffer and have their hearts broken and have their trauma opened up in the classroom right now. And I feel that I need more tools to help make sense of that, to help us heal from that. And that is not what I'm trained to do as a historian. So I'm seeking that. And this, to me, bears very much on issues of social justice, but very, very presently all summer, as I have walked in those woods, as I traveled over to Oregon to visit my parents and walked in the woods there, very, very clearly, I feel the primariness of our relationship with our planet. I have done what I could to connect intuitively. I have collected rocks and bones and sat on big giant stones and opened my mind to the sky, to the night, to the day, to the moon, to the sun. And it is clearly either a mental break as a result of social isolation in Corona, or as I choose to see it, me just opening myself up to a larger spiritual journey that puts me a part of a really beautiful collective that I follow here on YouTube as best I can through various readers in the spiritual world, who are tarot readers and astrologers, and also with Thomas Hubble and his theorizing and his colleagues working on collective trauma, and in my own recovery work, in which I also tell stories where I inventory the past and seek to make amends. So that is a long introduction. I haven't shuffled one bit, but I'm going to begin with the Elemental Oracle and pull one card, and we'll use the image, and I will actually even read part of the description in the book to help us sort of ground this reading. And then I will turn to Guardian of the Night and see what that deck might tell us. And I feel like only using the one tarot deck and using it to clarify itself, partly because I just have a big crush on that deck, and partly because I see other readers do that sometimes. And also, I learn in this practice to really, at the very least, I'm building a relationship and a trust with my own intuition. Okay, so our oracle card is Earth. And how appropriate is that? It's very beautiful to have this card come up when I asked for guidance in our relationship with the Earth, which is also associated in this deck and with the word home. Wow, I'm quite moved by that. All right, so let's look here. Earth, home. And here's your advice. Take time to ground yourself. The Earth is our home, and we are a part of nature, not apart from it. Do all you can to take positive custodianship of the world around you. Pay attention to your body and your home. Turn your eyes toward home. Avoid connection with devices and extreme busyness. That's funny that it tells us to avoid connection with devices, and I'm making this film on my phone. I'm going to post it on YouTube. But avoid disconnection with those devices and extreme busyness. So be conscious, be grounded, slow down. And the word of power is Gaia, which is Greek for earth. And that sort of reminds me of one of the tarot readers that I follow and admire, Universal Power Tarot, Marta. And she has been doing really awesome readings with Gaia. So I encourage you to go look at her stuff. She is one of my models, and were I to be as good as she at connecting, I would be amazed. Our bottom card is the biome. So double Earth here, and it says connection. Reiteration, I think, of our need to connect and be grounded and conscious in our relationship with our planet here. Okay, wow. The problem with getting slightly moved in my readings is it makes my nose run a little bit. And then there was the glorious reading where I used my t-shirt to wipe my nose. I won't ever do that again. I will sniff a little bit. Okay. What do the tarot cards have to say to us? How can we be in connection with Earth, with our home, our only home, right? With the biome. Okay. So, earthy energy at the bottom here, the Queen of Pentacles as a beautiful cow in the sunflowers, a little bunny rabbit under what look like cherry blossoms. And we get also a beautiful Ace of Cups, a new beginning in the emotional realm. I love the reminder of our own sort of the domesticated animal here of the cow, and the lily growing in the cup, which I see is marked by what I associate with the sacred mountain that I live underneath here in Flagstaff, Arizona. A kingfisher, maybe, and this kind of divine offering of love and a new beginning. These are on the bottom of our deck here as we begin to pull cards. Okay, so the recent past is the Eight of Pentacles, which is represented in this deck as a busy little bee at work, collecting honey, collecting pentacles. Practical existence in the material world, skillful and determined. That actually looks more like a wasp to me. I'll let you read that. So that gives me a slightly, not to be prejudiced against wasps, but a slightly dangerous way that we relate to work. I think wasps are meat eaters. They bite, they hurt. Yeah, that little wasp nest, you don't want to screw with that. The present, the star, this beautiful representation of healing, of wish fulfillment, Aquarius, the humanitarian, this gorgeous stag with a red bird in their antlers under a starry sky. That's our present. A present of wish fulfillment as well as healing. A very beautiful representation of that. Underlying energy, you may or may not be aware of this, is the tower. So this is happening in the background. A tower happens when you don't do the work to change. The world will change you for you. And so that makes a great deal of sense to me, that is in our background. I certainly feel us in a tower moment. And so those who come to this reading, you are this adorable capybara with the red bird again, much like the red bird in the star here. It makes me want to learn more about what that means in this deck. But red means willpower, it means passion. And the Page of Cups is a little lover, a little beginner, not too deep. And it's good to have a beginner's heart, I think, in this time. And so if we see the red bird representing the heart, this being healed, being connected to the earth. This little cappy appears to be swimming. There is a really adorable capybara called Cheesecake. If you haven't seen them on YouTube, they are basically work at an animal shelter as and seem to be the nurturing presence for many stray animals there. Okay, people in our life. Wow, so we have the world here. This is a powerful card. You can tell all of the energy around this bee. The world is the completion of a cycle. So very people who are done, people who have finished with this work in this phase and are ready to turn to a new beginning. And this little bee is just holding on to this golden sphere amidst pink flowers. Beautiful. Makes me think of this, our past, sort of this kind of end of work in this practical, pentacle, earthy, 3D sense. It's time to turn towards the promise that follows a tower moment with our Page of Cups hearts, or with our young hearts. All right, our advice is the Page of Swords. So this is about facing the truth. This is, again, a youngster, a young sense of the truth, keeping watch, out, looking out for the truth. So we have a little weasel here representing the truth, and I see the new moon there in the sky. So that accentuates for me the newness and the youthfulness of that. I also see over the mountain, since we've been reminded to think about mountains by an image already, there's like an eye over that mountain. That makes me think of like a third eye, of a kind of intuitive truth. It also makes me think of the almighty dollar of the pyramid with the eye over that. Yeah. And it sits opposite the star here in the spread that I have going here. It looks to the star. So some truth gained right now in our present situation of healing and even of wish fulfillment. Of course, for me, wish fulfillment, my greatest wish is that we begin to have a socially just healthy connection with our planet. That is my wish. That is what I manifest and try to forget on a daily basis. Also, some of you may be wishing for a change of regime, right? The tower would be an end. That would be a very positive tower moment. And the world and those around us, an end. There's ends in this reading. There's ends, and then there's this youthful, new, truth, heart-centered advice and identity coming from healing. And the future is strength, which is such a cool representation of strength. You can see the earth the heart buried in the earth, and that makes total sense for me. More poppies. We see in our star poppies, and we see here the snake and the little mouse, who is the prey of the snake. And strength card usually has a feminine figure calming a predator, usually a lion. In this case, the predator is the snake. They are under the moon. There is a heart in the earth. So I'm getting the feeling, there's encouragement to bring heart and to connect through your heart to the earth. A rather spiritual message here. Okay, so as I said, I'm inclined to clarify with the same deck, which means we won't get repetitions. You'll have to read for reinforcement of what we've already seen in the existing story without repeated cards, which maybe is one of my crutches usually in other readings. If I know I'm onto something if a card appears. Let's just see. So looking at the recent past, the Eight of Pentacles, all that 3D hard work that that we were recently doing, we get the Seven of Wands to clarify that. Again, another sort of dangerous meat-eating, the alligator or crocodile. I see the ghost of a stag in the background. You could see the crocodile, we'll call him here, or her here, bears a wand, suggesting, as this card usually does, a kind of resistance against the crowd. So, and the crowd is represented by the other smaller, younger looking alligators in the water. So this card comes after victory, and it would mean that you've achieved a certain status, and then you start feeling pressure from other people around you. They move from celebrating to you into pressuring you, and you maintain your integrity in that through that seventh wand. Okay. Secondly, we get another seven, the Seven of Cups. Here we see a hare reading the constellations in the sky, more pink cherry blossoms, more clouds, and this card, it's such a great representation of feeling like there's lots of choices, but also that they're vague, that maybe they're just projections, just things that you're putting out there with your mind. And I see this sevens here. These are a place that you want to move beyond. Although from 7 to 8 is an uncomfortable passageway in the tarot, because 8 means that it's time to go on a journey, because you are emotionally unfulfilled. A 7 means that you're looking up at the sky, at these constellations in this case. Again, there is a heart above that, very clear, the clearest cup there, although there's other ones, a moon in one, a tree, a moon, a key, a lion, more stars. Can't tell what that is. No, I'm almost starting to think I need glasses. Anyway, but this card is very often like you can't actually see clearly all of the choices, and you may have a sense that the one to choose, there's a choice that you ought to make and that you're being guided to make. And that would be, in this, the clearest appearing is again the heart, which we see buried in the earth in the future. So this is our recent past. Well, 2 sevens and an 8 of pentacles, as well as a 2 of pentacles, where we have 2 whales. It's a very interesting representation of the 2 of pentacles. I'm sorry, they're not whales, they're dolphins. One thing that I often see in a 2 of pentacles is that one pentacle is quite clear and present in the 3D, and one is more ethereal, the lower one. And these 2 are circling over the water, under the water, over the moon, under the moon. And then there's a number of other dolphins in the water below. Okay, so we are thinking about balance, we're thinking about choices, and one may seem clearer than the other in the recent past. I think of 2 of Pentacles as a lack of balance, as a need to move into better balance. So we have 2 predators, we have illusion and projection, and a need for balance in our recent past. In our relationship with our planet, that makes perfect sense to me. So our present, the star, which is that wish fulfillment, that healing. We see the red bird, we see the red poppies, we see the gorgeous stag with his antlers lit with stars. Usually with animals I use she, but we'll use they for the stag here. Usually those with antlers would be identified as male. Although you never know, nature, it's just you don't hear about the females with antlers, right? I feel like if I were a deer, I might have antlers some days. Okay. Wow. Okay. So in the present, we get the Hierophant. Here's a rat leading other rats. This is our institutions. This is our social order. The rat is compelling to the other rats who are listening because he stands in front of the key to the bakery. So the bakery would be the values, what these little rats or mice would value to get into that bakery. And it actually makes me think a little bit of a kind of 5 of Pentacles as it appears in the traditional tarot, that there's a compulsion that is based in lack that is represented here through the Hierophant, who is our institutions. So in a deck that's very much about Earth and Amalia and feeling through those things, when we see buildings appear in this deck, I'm noticing that they bring with them a sense of disconnection, a need for control, and also there's an austerity in that. I see the limits of the Hierophant, who's sometimes called the Pope, represents church, state, masculine authority, marriage, institutions of our society. So that's in our present, clarifying the star. Secondly, we get this excellent representation of the 5 of Wands, this beaver trying to build a dam on a wild river. Pretty frustrating creative project here. And so this is I feel like a perfect depiction of that 5 of Wands state. In fact, this deck nails for me and clarifies for me so beautifully what I understand these cards are meant to say in traditional ways. But I feel these cards. I feel this determined artist beaver, frustrated and in conflict and chaos, trying to complete that project. So this is our current state. Why we might be healing and wishing. And thirdly, we get, the 5 of Pentacles, which I mentioned with the Hierophant. So in this 5 of Pentacles, we see an owl. There are 5 little pentacles hanging in the tree, and they are larvae. And there's the little caterpillar underneath. And so these are the pupae or the caterpillar builds this. I'm just totally blanking on the word. So this period before rebirth, another passageway I learned from Jodorowsky. Fives are passages. It's uncomfortable. You want to move on. It feels like you might want to stay in your little safe. Gosh, I wish I could think of the word. Just safely ensconced in your little bed, in your little metamorphosis project that is you. And that would be wise because there's an owl out there. But it is definitely a state of transition. So 2 5s and the Hierophant clarifying our present, which is the star, which is, I'm going to interpret, because of these clarifications, that we're in a state of healing from chaos, from our institutions, from really what is appearing to me as a dangerous climate. And of course, the danger of our climate is our fault. We've caused this. We have either consented explicitly to this, made it happen, or we have just been asleep. We've gone unconscious. And that's why, to remind us, Earth is our home. It is this abundant, beautiful woman of color here, lit with light, her fabulous hairdo. And she has her eyes closed, a star behind her. This is a beautiful, serene image of our biome, of our planet. And this other card reminds us of our connection to it. So we need to change our institutions, and we need to change our worldview in order to achieve the healing that we are currently at work on in the present. That's how I read that. Okay, so now we have this hidden influence, what we aren't aware of, or what I feel conscious of. I guess I don't quite know the extent of this tower moment that we are in. And this is a very austere tower. I see a saw on the ground, but the tree has broken, right? The saw reminds me that at one point I could have made this change through my own will, but because I didn't do that, the tree will fall. In fact, one of my neighbor's trees is dying, and it's leaning towards my house. So, the wise thing would be to talk to my neighbor about maybe going in on the price of hiring someone to use a saw instead of waiting for lightning or wind to bring that tree down on my house. So that's how I understand the tower. It is change that we have resisted, and that is the underlying influence in this reading. So let's find out a little bit more about that. Wonderful. We get the 6 of Cups, which in this deck totally speaks to the age of our youth and the sort of wiser perspective that we get as elders. The 6 of Cups is about nostalgia. It's about inner children. It's about playing well with our soulmate here. And the Ace of Cups there is there to reiterate for us that this is, you see the lilies that are iconographic in the Ace of Cups. They are about a sort of healthy, spiritual, emotional abundance and joy between these 2 cute little elephants playing together in the water. Isn't that funny? This is clarifying our tower. It's a much gentler message once we see the 2 of Cups. What else? Okay, the 8 of Swords. This is an incredible representation of the feeling is you are trapped, but in fact that is an illusion. It's just your perception of it. And I see an eye here. It is there are owls in the middle. It suggests a snake to me as well. There's lots of roots. It seems to be underground. I think of the mycelium, which, if you don't know about the mycelium, definitely look up the mycelium. It gives me so much faith that there is something underneath me that is healing all of the pollution and destruction that is, like our scientists hopefully are at work doing, is all that our earth, the mycelium, the roots of mushrooms that connect forests to one another and exchange sugar and water when some are starving. This network of roots under the earth that is healing and cleansing and really resolving the problems of the pests that live on the surface. And you can do so much with mycelium. My information is even now out of date. They're cleaning up chemical warfare. They're cleaning up diesel using mushrooms. But this card is about, you feel trapped, but that's in your head. You're also in this Six of Cups energy. Okay, what else? And then we get the truth, the Ace of Swords, a new truth, right? We've been seeing this in this reading already. That is a beautiful image of, there are bats flying over a field of these night blooming lilies, white lilies. And so remember, our advice is this truth bringer, this watcher, this person looking for the truth under the new moon, this young person. There are poppies again in that image. So underlying energy behind this tower is nostalgia, a true soulmate connection. So I'm going to read this because of the other cards, like the biome reminds us that this is about connection, our connection to our planet, and to feel it the way we felt it as children, in that kind of being in the moment way, and that we may be feeling or not facing our sense of being trapped, that we don't have agency here, but in fact there is a truth that we can see. And this is what this tower is bringing us. It is reminding us to connect. It is reminding us that we are indeed free, and we do have the truth at our disposal. Okay, so now we will clarify who we are. We are this Page of Cups, this little crushy love bringer with a red bird on her back, this little capybara. Under the cherry blossoms and the new moon. I'm going to guess that the new moon represents youth in this deck, because I see one in both Page of Cups and Page of Swords here. Okay, more about who we are. All right, wonderful. The Four of Wands. This is a wonderful collective. This is a wonderful friendship. This is a party. This is a wedding. This is everything is above the surface in the Four of Wands, and there's stability in us. So I feel this passionate, very a perspective of gratitude, and then how couldn't you feel grateful? And there's lots of those little eyes in the path there. This is a beautiful spring day with two friends or more, but usually it's two who are celebrating. This is clarifying who you are, who we are here. We also get this porcupine, Nine of Wands, and a little fox there, thinking about how prickly that porcupine can be. Nine of Wands is about willpower. It is about strength. It's about having suffered and learned. And I think that little fox is thinking about, I'm not going to fuck with that porcupine, because that porcupine already spiked me. So we've learned from suffering. But also this is clarifying who we are at this reading. We're this badass porcupine. Lots of passion here. Love, passion, wisdom, honesty, and more wands. The 8 of Wands. Communication, movement, travel, fast. So passion, and it's represented here by a great hawk who is descending on the earth, represented as very green and also very much snaky. See that snaky? I think of the river. I think again of the advice to connect, and that if you've ever seen an osprey or a hawk, or it actually looks like an osprey to me. If you've ever seen them hunting, I've seen many an osprey fly down over the Trinity River where I grew up and capture in a beautiful struggle a big salmon or steelhead, fly up with it in that battle, which is very intense, very powerful, and it is very much about connection, and it's so much about connection, communication, and struggle. And I see a lot of struggle in us, history of trauma, this sort of underlying energy of that 8 of Swords in the Tower, like danger in our history, in our collective story here, that as we have laid it out. But you have a message to bring, and it is perhaps in communion with your earth, or perhaps it is with others, but it is knowledge gained really in this joyful celebration that has made everything come out into the open. This true love of your planet. That's what I see. This happy little Cappy, this little lover of her earth with her red bird. Lots of beautiful cherry blossoms here. And our friends, the people around us, represented by the world, this completion of a cycle. And I see the same symbol for the symbol of the world here in the top. This is the symbol I had trouble seeing in this cup here. Yeah, I'm reminded of that. It also makes me think of a phoenix kind of rising from the ashes, as Scorpios are known to do. But it represents the laurels of victory, of completion, of wholeness that you would wear. I think always of the athlete dying young and out of Africa, which was one of my favorite stories as a teenager, and the kind of anguish that Isaac Dennison expressed her friend having, her boyfriend, as they flew over Africa, and they saw evidence of civilization's destruction, of Western imperial's destruction on the beautiful veldt there that they had fallen in love flying over. So there's a kind of grief that is coming up for me here in the people around us who are done. They're done with this cycle. I feel they're surrounded by light and flowers and fulfillment, like they've totally brought in all that honey. But there is grief to come, a grief in the end, which is change, which is opposite here represented by the Tower. So yeah, it's a very complicated feeling in that world card. It's so beautiful. It's absolute fulfillment in it. There's a grasshopper, green moths, this bee, fireflies maybe? Yeah, there are fireflies here, looking like stars. It's very much about perspective, because this little bee's hovering over this moon, which could just be one little circle of honey that they have collected. Okay, what else about people around us? Wheel of Fortune. They are involved in destiny. They are lucky. There is divine timing at work for them. very powerful. We see white owls and a snake and spiders. Rebirth, a sense of rebirth here for the people around us. Much needed. Much needed. I don't want to shuffle again. What else? Judgment. Another snake. So here we can see the ascension. You've shed your skin, rising from that again into the pink cherry blossoms. I see the red bird, the heart, speaking here. This is growing. The people around us, the world. Is this our world? Is this our people, our community? There's just all this divine timing. There is a need for change, shedding of old skin. Wow, I'm very excited by this. The people around us, they are powerfully being transformed right now. Much needed. And the Ace of Wands, a new start. And we see spider webs, we see those night lilies under the stars, fireflies. There are buildings in this. You can see the window frames on these buildings. So a new building something new. That's what I think when I look at this card, because I think of spiders building webs, and there's the old structures, the old institutions of society represented by the Hierophant here, the bakery and the Hierophant. Okay, our advice, the Page of Swords, youthful truth bringer. So bring in the truth. And the Page of Swords is quite often quite chatty and almost being obnoxiously unable to keep their truth to yourself. So without clarifying yet, I would say the advice is, who cares if it's obnoxious? Speak your truth. Bring that truth. That's your job. Again, the Fool. I love this Fool. I just really have to think about this little wolf. It reminds me of my little dog venturing out, perhaps onto the ice, towards that bunny rabbit. Looks like wanting to play. Yeah. Risking going to the edge, walking on an uncertain surface. Beautiful. So this is a part of our advice. Be this beginner. 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups is it's time to leave behind the unfulfilling world, life from the past, and to start on a new spiritual, emotional journey for that Ace of Cups, that fulfillment that comes with the 9 of Cups. Right? Remember in our recent past, we had the 7 of Cups, and I told you that this is the 8 of Cups. It's time. It's still uncomfortable in the 8 of Cups. You need to go. You need to go. You need to go like the Fool. You need to bring the truth like the Page of Swords. And there you go. There's your Ace of Cups. So we've been told many times in this reading to take this emotional, heart-centered approach forward. And it's time to go towards something new, a new approach, which we have been given the truth. It is time to move, right? And we have the passion and the ability to communicate and to move. 8 of Wands can also mean travel. So it doesn't have to be like go to Europe. It can mean a spiritual journey, but I'm getting social movement here, and I feel that within our relationship with Earth, our home, we're being told in this reading that we need to move. We need to move quickly. We need to move powerfully from the heart. And the people in the world are ready. They're changed. They are transformed. They have shed their skin. And when the time is right, according to the Wheel of Fortune, that larger sense of time, they'll be ready. And they have the Ace of Wands, right? Very exciting. Okay, So, our future, what we can see of it, strength. This looks good. This looks like a new relationship. The mouse is able to, the lion lies with the lamb. The mouse is hanging with the snake. The prey and the predator are at peace because the predator has found self-control. And there is some emotional reason for having self-control, and that is represented here by the heart, by love, by that connection, absolutely, that we are being provoked to be conscious of, to be grounded in through this reading. We get again our Queen of Pentacles. Remember, we saw her in the very beginning. She is our Earth Queen, a kind of domestic, very secure, very rich in abundance. But I think it's a new understanding of abundance that we are being promised here in the future, because it is heart-based, it is not disconnected and dissociative, right? We get a 10 of Wands, represented here by spawning salmon, swimming upstream to spawn. That is extremely tiring work. And the 10 of Wands means you've completed that cycle of work. You're exhausted. When salmon get up there, their bodies are battered. They're not even that yummy to eat. I lived on a river, and the salmon spawning was this massive silver bodies going upstream, and that didn't last through the years that I lived there. But I remember my dad bringing home salmon who were spawning, and they almost looked inedible. They were so battered by this labor. And so the 10 of Wands says it's another ending, completion. It's kind of quit work is what I always think of it meaning. And so we have Queen of Pentacles as a new kind of abundance, and an end of work as we have known it. And finally, we get the satisfaction again, the 9 of Pentacles, the bear alone in his cave. You know, you have a safe, secure, solitary existence here in your cave. And the 9 of Pentacles, dreaming through the winter, waiting for spring to come. That's a lovely representation of our future, that peace, that relationship with the seasons, all of this natural abundance. Instead of that, you know, if you may bear with me a little bit further, we have our past, this hard work, this wasp, this alligator. We have really come a long way in this reading into the promise of a new relationship, a new connection. And our advice is, it's time to move. It's time to get busy on this. So this is gorgeous. I'm excited. I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this reading with you. And I hope you got something out of it too. All right. Thank you.